Hello grade 11s. Today I'm looking at page 71 of your workbooks. This is a geometric solid, a little bit different where this is a prism with a hexagonal prism and a square prism as a hole on the inside, a blind hole, meaning that it's not going all the way through the shape, and with cutting plane AA. So they want you to do the given front view, the sectioned top view, the sectional left view, and then the true shape. So if we just remember the positioning of our views, remember this is the symbol for first angle, the tapered roll is always the front view, the circles are always the left view. In first angle it's opposite. So if we are looking at the positioning for the views in this, the front view is the most important view, the top view is opposite at the bottom, and the left view would be opposite on the right of the front view. This would also mean that we want to take the auxiliary view, the true shape across on that side, or we're going to rotate it and put it here. So I'm going to get started by drawing the constructions of the hexagon and then the square prism. There I have my hexagon with a length of side of 32. I'm now going to do the square prism. So let's remember what we're going to do for this is we're going to draw a circle with a diameter of 28 and then draw tangent at an angle of 45 degrees to get this shape. And there we have our square. So remember the diameter of the circle is equal to the length of side, 28. Draw the circle and then draw tangents touching the edge of the circle at an angle of 45 degrees. Now what I'm going to do is project my lines up to get the front view. I'm going to leave a space of 15 millimeters between the views. There are my height dimensions of 80 and the distance down for the square prism of 60. Now I'm going to project up my length dimensions to get my shape. There I have the outline of my hexagon, and now just to put in the hidden detail for the prism, the square prism. There I have finished the front view. So we've put in the hidden detail for the square prism. We've put in the cutting plane. Remember, a dark or thickened line at the end of your cutting plane, and the labels AA. It's a chain line, so long dash, short dash, long dash. Now let's take the top view, and I'm going to label the top view and follow those points to my front view and then work out the cutting plane. The prism is a little bit easier when you need to section it, because the lines obviously are on vertical lines joining the base of the prism to the top of the prism. Here I've labelled my square prism A, B, C and D. I've labelled those in my front view. I've labelled the hexagon 1 to 6, and I've labelled the corners for the front view 1 to 6. So let's see where the points are now on the cutting plane. So A gets cut here. Cutting plane AA cuts point 4 at this edge, which when we follow the point down is exactly on that point. The same with point 3 and 5. It cuts exactly on this point because it's on a vertical line. point 2 and 6 we have the same story. The only change here is the line gets cut at the base of the shape. So this is going to be the base of 1 going to 2, 1 going to 6, and it gets cut away at this point. So I'm going to take that point and project it down. And that gives us the shape that we would see as the sectional view. So this corner has been cut away, this joins up, and then the rest remains the same. I'm just going to go over that in a dark line now. There is the outline of my sectional top view. I now need to do what the section is going to look like on the square prism. So let's follow the points down. Here is point C, which gives us this point C. Point B and D are going to be at those exact points. Then it cuts the base of the shape at this point. So we're going to project this down and join up the edges of the base. And that would give us the outline shape that we need for this section. I'm going to go over that in the dark line now and then start putting in my hatching. Remember that this is a hole, so there can't be any hatching in this aspect here. There's just going to be hatching on the outside of the shape. So while I'm doing my hatching, just a little trick to try and make sure that your hatching all stays the same measurement. What I'm doing is I'm lining up the bottom of these numbers on my set square to make sure that my spacing stays the same for my hatching. So they are slided across each time I need to do my next line to make sure that the spacing stays the same. It's a big shape, so that's why I've made the spacing a little bit bigger for this view. And there I have the complete sectional top view on AA. So next we need to do the left view. So I can project my 45-degree line here, project my width dimensions across and up, and take my height dimensions across from my front view. We've got the outline now of my left view by projecting my height dimensions from my front view and the width dimensions from my top view. Let's look at where the cutting points are now by just remembering the numbering. So if we look at this, here is line 2 and 3. This is line 1 and 4. This is going to be line 5 and 6. So this is line 4, and we need to follow line 4 across on this side. That's going to give me point 4. The next is going to be where it cuts line 3 and 5. So where it cuts line 3 and 5, I'm going to project this across to cut line 3 and cut line 5. The next point is at point 2 and 6, so I need to follow this line across to where it cuts point 2 and point 6. Now where does it finish? It cuts the base at this point. Now this isn't going to give us a point, and if it doesn't give us the point that we can use to find it, we need to go into the next view. So that means we're coming down into the top view. Here is where this 1 point is, so I'll take that across and then project it up vertically. So it's giving this point on the base. Here is where the second point is on the base. project it across to your 45-degree line and project that up, and that's going to give us our next point. So here we have the outline of our section. It's tapering down to the edge, straight line down to the base, across, up, and joins up to the other side. I'm just going to go over that in my outline now. There is the outline of my hexagonal prism, and this little edge is going to not be hatched. Next, let's work on the square prism on the inside and find where those points are going to be. So I'm going to just follow my labels across to get each of the points. So I've taken my labels across, so this will give us points A and C for my square prism. This line across here will give me point B, and this corner will give me point D. Let's follow the lines across the theory of 2 points. So point C gets cut at this edge here, so I need to project that across to where it cuts at point C. Here is where it's going to cut point B and D, so I need to project those across to find points B and point D. Now it next cuts the base. Once again, the base is a horizontal line, so we can't find it there, so we need to come across to the top view and find where those points are on the top view, and use these edges to project across and up to find where it cuts on the base of my shape. There is what the shape would look like for my prism on the inside. I'm going to go over those in dark lines now. This little edge here is the inside corner of the shape, so I need to draw that in, and I'm now ready to do the hatching on this inside little piece. There we have the completed sectional left view on cutting plane AA. So the last aspect of this drawing is the true shape. So remember, the true shape is going to look very much like this shape, except it should be longer. So remember, the true shape should be at right angles, projected at right angles, and then we take our width dimensions off either the left view or the top view. Now the process we've done to get the true shape has been to take the cutting plane and rotate it using our compass and then projecting the lines across. So I'm going to follow that same process. So the most important thing about your true shape is getting this true length of the cutting plane. So what I do is, where it cuts the base of my shape, or wherever the cutting point touches the lowest point here, I'm going to draw a vertical line. I'm then going to take the different cutting points across to that using my compass, and then project it away on the side so it's out of the way of the rest of the view. So I'm now going to take my compass, I'm going to put it at the center, is going to be where this touches the lowest point of our cutting plane. I'm extending it to where it touches my point 4 here. So there was point 4. I then bring it down to my next point. Now I'm just going to do the hexagon first. So I need to bring it down to points 3 and 5. So where the cutting point is at 3 and 5, mark that across. So there's point 3 and 5. Bring it down to the next point here at 2 and 6. And project this across. So there's point 2 and 6, 3 and 5, and 4. Obviously this is the lowest point, which is 1. Now I'm going to move this across to the side. So I'm just going to project these lines across to the side. And I'm now going to just pick a center point. And just go over these lines here. Okay, so there are my height measurements all projected across. Now we need to get the specific width dimensions that we need. So let's look at the shapes now. So at point 4, the width dimension I can take either from my left view, because this is the width dimension, or I can take it from the top view. Either way, what I've done is I'm working off the center line, and the center line, a little bit like the fishbone method that we use when we draw isometrics. So this is point 4, which means that this will be the specific point 4 on my true shape. Now the next point is going to be point 3 and 5. So here is point 3 and 5. So I need that width dimension. So I'm going to take my compass, using my center line, I take the distance to the edge of my shape. Here's the distance to 3, which should be the same distance to 5. I go to that height measurement and mark that off. Next we need to do the same at point 2 and 6. Now point 2 and 6 is the same width dimension as 3 and 5. So I've kept my compass at the same measurement, and I now go and mark that off over here. The last point is at point 1. Now remember, the base got cut at this point. So what I need to do is either take the distance from the center to this edge, or we could come to the top view from the center to that edge, would give us the same measurement. So there's my measurement. I come and mark it down here, and that gives me now the base or the outline of my true shape. I'm going to join up those points now. Here's the outline of my true shape. Now what I need to do is work out the inside where the square prism fits in there. So we're going to follow the same process. We've used this edge here, and now where it cuts the various different aspects of the square prism, we're going to take our compass with that measurement and rotate that to the vertical line and project them across. Okay, so here's my first point. Which is point A. Now next point will be points B and D. and my last point will be point DC. So I've just put those arcs in there so you can see where they've come from. So there's point C, there's point B and D. Let's project them across. And what we're going to do after this now is work out the measurements once again, either from your left view or from the top view. It's not going to make a difference. So let's find the points that we're going to need. Point C is this edge, and when we look at it as the width, it's on the center line, meaning that will give us this edge here. Next we're looking at B and D. Here's B and D, the widest point. So I'm going to take my compass and get the measurements here for points B and D. Take that across to the center line in my true shape, mark off point B and mark off point D. The last point is point A, which remember is on the base, so we can either take it in the top view or we're going to come to the base here in the left view, get that base measurement, and let's transfer it to the true shape. There are the points that I need, and I'm now going to draw them in. There is the completed true shape of AA with our hatching and the square prism hole. That's the end of drawing on page 71.